How you doing, everyone? Welcome back to the Clydeside Containers podcast. This is where we get to talk to some of the weird, wonderful individuals that are going to be involved in Glasgow's brand new first-class eatery and live events venue, the Clydeside Containers. I'm Billy Kirkwood. Relax, I've never heard of me either. But what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking to one of our vendors. We're going to be talking to Andrew from Café XO. Hi, Andrew.
Hi.
I never know how to begin this bit because it just seems like the
Totally.
weirdest way to start. It's like speed dating, but nobody can ding a bell, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
First of all, we want to talk about Café XO because, I mean, obviously looking over the menu and seeing all the unique stuff that you put together, how would you describe what Café XO do to someone that's never experienced it before, and what's your kind of ethos behind it?
Simple food, essentially. Kind of casual dining. I want people to feel welcome. Like, I think that feeling of like exclusivity in restaurants. I don't like it. I think it's not like. There was a time I was working in Edinburgh, and I wanted to go to this restaurant. You had to go in a lift and go up to the top floor in this restaurant. It was quite a well-known place,
Right.
but throughout the whole process, we'd booked and we were going. I was like questioning: am I dressed right? Is this the right occasion? Am I welcome here? And it's a weird feeling to think like that. I mean, at the time, I was working for probably the most well-known restaurant in Edinburgh, but I still felt that way, and I thought it stuck with me. It's not nice to feel that way. So yeah, I kind of want to do good food, but for everyone to feel welcome on any occasion, kind of thing, is a big thing. I think if you can nail that, it's huge. There's not many restaurants, not many places that I think that tick all those boxes that you could go on any occasion. You know, you could go for a celebration, a birthday, family get together, or a date, or anything. You could dress like, you know, in full suit and, you know, on a nice date or whatever. Or you could also go in pretty much in shorts and flip flops or something.
You want to be able to enjoy the experience and not be in your head.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a big thing. People are like, and you kind of label restaurants with a certain occasion as well, which is not. It's difficult when you get into that kind of place as well. When you're working in a restaurant or running a restaurant, if people are labeling you as the special occasion place, or so we want it to be very casual, very simple, but hopefully good food, and people enjoy it.
And it's a kind of like it's almost, it kind of constantly evolves, doesn't it?
Totally. I've been chefing for a long time in a lot of places, and a lot of the guys that met along the way that are now doing this with me are the same. We've got a load of different experience, different styles of food, so we're constantly thinking of different things and tweaking things and putting on different things as sort of specials or whatever. So the food is always sort of changing, but I think the one thing that's always pretty consistent, hopefully, is that you would eat it and you would know, or you would see it and you would know, you know, it makes sense. It fits in.
Yeah.
That's Café XO. Yeah, you'd get it, but it could be very different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So when people come down and they visit, there's always going to be something different in the menu, or something that's going to connect with them. And they're going to go, brilliant, that I'm in the right place.
Hopefully, hopefully we can get that reputation. People know they can go and try something different, but they're not going to be terribly disappointed. I think it's a bad thing if you go somewhere and you everybody often you just go with what you know. You know, you go to your favorite restaurant, you get the same thing, you've been doing it forever. You know, sometimes you go, okay, I'll try something different. The worst thing is if you try something completely different and you're disappointed.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, man, I should have got that. I love that, but I thought I'd try something different. So yeah, a big thing is to, hopefully we try not to put, nothing will go onto the menu unless we think it's good enough to replace something that's already on the menu. You know, I think that's an important thing. A lot of places, a big thing is like, let's do specials. And worked in a lot of restaurants where the routine, the habit was, you got 3 specials every week and that's it, and they have to change. And it's Friday's specials day. It's specials change. So you come in on a Friday and you're already busy on a Friday, so you've already got a lot to do, but you've got to think of these new specials. And then you've got all the leftovers from the previous week's specials that sort of just get pushed aside. And then often things can get just forced on just for the sake of having to to do that new special,
Right.
and then they don't often actually warrant being a special. You know.
Yeah, that's
Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
It's just that thing. It becomes the habit. We need to do the specials today,
yeah,
and it's like, well, do we when we've still got 6 portions of that one and it's amazing? Or
yeah.
do you know what I mean? So yeah,
I know
yeah,
what you mean. Like in
yeah,
terms of, I mean, you've already got a menu that people are going to enjoy and items that you're happy to you serve and put out to people. But if you're going to put something on, you want it to real have like, I know this is good.
yeah,
I know that you're going to really enjoy this. Just
yeah,
not doing it for the sake of doing it.
yeah, yeah. We wouldn't like throw in a whole dish that we've never tried any of the individual elements. So
Yeah,
it's always things like, oh, this garnish or that garnish, or this is in season right now. It's good. We've used this a million times before. That's a great thing to do with it. What would it go well with?
yeah.
Things like that, and then before you know it, it becomes its own dish.
So
Yeah.
finding where we are now at Café XO, we'll jump back to that in a little second. But your journey
Hmm.
to to Café XO, I
Yeah.
mean, you have worked in some incredible places and from all over. What is the kind of what was the start, the kind of genesis of your culinary journey? Was it cooking in the kitchen with mum and dad? What was the kind of first
Yeah,
steps?
yeah, essentially, yeah. I remember as a really, really young age sitting up on the worktop when my mum was cooking. My mum says it, and obviously my mum will be correct, but my memory's different. She had to keep one of us in the kitchen with her when she was doing something, otherwise me and my brother would just fight in the other room. Just so, because yeah, we were just me, my brother, and my mum.
That's top Scottish parenting.
Yeah,
Can I
so
just
so
say
that was it.
That's
So
bang
so
on.
if she needed to do dishes, she needed to do washing, she needed to cook. I often came with her, and Chris, my brother, would be causing carnage in the room next door, or
Right.
vice versa. But I think with the cooking thing, that was always I was so into it, so I would sit and watch. And yeah, I just loved it. I think I've always had a kind of creative side, but yeah, certain things I was good at, certain things I wasn't. So like art in general,
Mm.
wasn't great for me. I loved drawing with a pencil. I loved that. I would draw things, I'd sketch, but I didn't like painting or anything else like that. So art, like as a full subject, wasn't my thing. And then I really liked making things like woodwork. We did a lot of that,
Right.
like in school, and I really enjoyed that. But I kind of didn't really like the environment, the people, the other guys that liked it. I didn't, maybe I don't know, didn't. That was the only thing we had in common, maybe that we liked that. So when I started to do food, I realized, well, all of the little things that I love in one.
Right.
I can kind of work my own head here. I can do, like I was quite introverted, and yeah, kind of a deep thinker, and liked to sort of just sit and do things away on my own, and food was great for that. So yeah, it kind of just all started to click. I sat with my mum, and then I'd sit with my granny. She would do things slightly different. So you're picking up little things
Oh,
and
that's interesting.
enjoying
Yeah.
it, and then like watching cooking programs on TV as well was something I loved. Um,
Who were some of your favorites?
well, the first I really remember was Delia, because that's what my mum would always watch, was
All right.
Delia, and MasterChef, and the old school MasterChef,
I
and it
remember
was
the
Lloyd
one with Lloyd
Grossman. Oh
Grossman.
man, yeah,
Just making a
so
fortune
so
off pasta sauces now, just
totally,
retired.
yeah, and his voice. So yeah, we would watch that, but then I mean I loved that. It was really insightful into a new way of cooking, but it was kind of boring. And then I remember it was like Keith Floyd and
Yeah.
even Nick Nairn when he had his show, and Rick Stein. They made it a little bit edgier and a little bit more rock and roll, and I found it a little bit cooler. Like Floyd, I thought Floyd was amazing. Like I was obsessed with Floyd for about 20 years. I just watched because he has so many shows. He'd done so much that at
Yeah.
one point when we got Sky TV, when we were a little bit better off, a bit older, we got Sky. I think at any point in any given day you could watch Floyd. You could find Floyd on Sky. So that was amazing for me.
Well,
And
yeah,
it's
he
just
had so
learned
many
much.
series, didn't he? Like, he'd be cooking it all across Europe.
Yeah,
I remember him doing a tour of the United States. And,
yeah,
and I think this was at a time where we kind of went, "Oh, United States is just like burgers and chips."
yeah, totally.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
Yeah,
he would go to all these different places, and it kind of. So you think that kind
yeah.
of broadened your horizons in terms of the foods that you would want to do?
Massively. Before I even started cooking, I think I had learned so much of style and of things. Just the idea of that and that and that goes together, and that's from or that's like the basis of or the spine of Thai food or Italian food, things like that. I started to learn. You sort of absorb information and you don't even realize it goes somewhere locked in your subconscious, doesn't it? And it was like that with food. And then when I started to make things, it started to kind of come out like, I think of Floyd and stuff.
Yeah.
But he did everything. He did so much, so many different series.
I still remember him cooking mussels. Smashed in a. There's no.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how drunk he would get, but he knocked back the wine at a fair bit. But I do remember him looking rather red faced, trying to cook mussels.
Yeah,
smashed in a boat is the phrase I would use. Totally. But even that, he was kind of breaking away from the convention. He would be bringing, like you said, flavors from other countries together and kind of fusion, and but they all belong together.
Totally. Yeah, it was a lot of like he wasn't the best chef or the best cook. Originally, he wasn't even a chef. Like the story of how he started is all quite cool as well.
I heard about that. That blew my mind.
Yeah, it's quite. He was in the army and they were filming something in the barracks or something, and he's just that guy. He's so like charismatic, and he just kind of stole the show. And he got this TV like gig from that, like food. And he wasn't even a chef. I don't even think he worked in the kitchen department in the barracks and stuff. He's just class guy. But yeah, he was amazing. And it was a lot of it was authentic. Like it was, and there was nothing else like that around. You couldn't really learn that style of food. Like so it was really eye opening. It's like an encyclopedia of food. Floyd's TV programs, you could watch them. I mean, I don't know what it would be like watching him now for the first time. You'd probably think he was a bit crazy and it's very dated, but it was great that. And then like I said, Nick Nairn, when his show came on, it was next level rock and roll.
Yeah,
he was a bit younger and he was Scottish as well, which was cool. I loved that. That was when I started to try and cook a little bit more, like exciting things. So all these little steps in the journey. Got a bit older, like started to have like you go down to friends for dinner, or we started getting girlfriends and then going for dinner and seeing a whole different way of cooking, a different style of food as well, and talking about that. Different people, different families that have got different backgrounds and stuff.
So where do you start making the steps in terms of actually getting into a kitchen? This way, so you're getting inspiration. You're feeling that this is the direction I want to go in.
Yeah.
When do you start making that steps? Where is the first place that you start making that step into?
Totally. Yeah. The first job I ever had actually. I'm from Shetland. I grew up in Shetland.
Yeah.
There was a tall ships race, like Cutty Shark tall ships race or something came around.
Yeah.
I think I was like 14, and it was a big thing in Shetland and Lerwick. There was a big party for the weekend, and there was a few places set up stalls on the pier and the harbour, like, and there was this place that was basically like a kind of cafe, but in Shetland at the time it was like the highest echelons of cooking. Monty's Bistro it was called. It's like, that was really fancy. But yeah.
And I know, I think I know, I've been to Shetland doing up Hellier.
Oh, amazing.
And it's,
wow.
I don't know if I saw Monty's Bistro, but
it's not there anymore.
I saw the Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
Is it the only one in the island? It might be the only, the big one?
Yeah.
That's kind of on the hill.
Yeah.
You can only walk there. Remember, you can only walk there.
Yeah.
And I think there was like an Italian diner on the high street that did interesting food.
Yeah.
I think it'd be the way of putting it.
Yeah.
And you could buy a bag of Shetland tatty sweets.
Yeah.
To this day, I don't know what I bought, but I brought them home.
Oh, God knows, man.
And everyone loved it. But so you're starting off in Monty's Bistro.
Monty's Bistro. So Monty's had he got a stall on the harbour for the tall ships race, and he set up a barbecue.
Right.
And I got a job with him helping, and that was like the next level. And then I asked him after, because it was only a weekend thing.
Yeah.
Could I get a job in the restaurant with him in the bistro? Like, And that was my first kind of job. I worked in there on a Saturday, washing the dishes. And yeah, it just blew my mind. I loved it, and it was dead simple. Like it was like sandwiches and stuff. Now I look back, but I still remember there was a sandwich which I used to make for like girlfriends when I was like, 17, 18, 19, and thinking I was like the main man. Like it was like
It just
it
blew
was.
their mind.
I mean, I thought it was brilliant. I remember having it at Monty's, and it was
Andrew
like,
makes
wow,
the most
it was so
amazing
good.
sandwiches.
But yeah, it was literally just toasted bread with pesto from a jar, mozzarella slices, leaves of basil, and slices of tomatoes. That was it, and it was like, this is phenomenal. This is next level.
I've seen people get success in Tinder with less, man. So you've absolutely smashed it.
Totally.
Absolutely smashed it. But
yeah,
you're getting the kitchen experience now, right?
Yeah.
Which is incredibly valuable, particularly at that age.
Yeah.
Even at Monty's, I'm sure there was parts during the day or parts during the week where it'd be getting pretty busy. I should
Yeah,
think.
it was. It was busy. Yeah, you learn that whole that work ethic and that discipline. Like I was always like, I think most young kids, you kind of challenge discipline, don't you? You challenge authority, like at school and stuff, like, and which is a great thing. I think you should always do that, like, not just for the sake of breaking rules, but just you just challenge it. Why question it? But yeah, there seemed to be less questions necessary in the kitchen. It was like there was a sort of an understanding. There was an understanding of everybody in the hierarchy and why someone might be getting stressed, and and then that feeling of adrenaline, and then when you get through it, the kind of pat on the back, and you feel great, like you feel really good, and then you get paid for it at the end. It was like, it was amazing. I felt great, like. So I went home, and that was it. I'd fully made up my mind. Like I was going to do this, and I went home and told my mum. And the response wasn't great. I want to be a chef, and like nobody got it. Like my friends and family were just like, "What, a chef? What do you mean?" Like yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to do it as a job. Like why not? And like I think it was a very unfashionable career choice back then. It wasn't quite as well celebrated as it has been the last now 20 years or so. But yeah, this is like 30 years ago now. Geez, I'm showing my age. So yeah, but it was like not like, it was kind of just like not really encouraged, I suppose.
So mum's not happy.
Mum's not happy.
You're challenging authority.
Yeah.
But she gets it. You want to do this. She
yeah,
gets it.
I wanted to do it. Yeah. So I carried on like working in kitchens as like a dishwasher, and then trying to learn a little bit more food wise. But I was going to university. That was the plan. That's what everyone was doing.
Yeah.
That's what my mum wanted. That's what
were you doing at university?
Psychology, I did actually. Yeah, psychology and sociology, I did. Which was great. I really was interested in it, but I didn't think any further ahead than I was just going to university, because that's what everyone does.
Yeah.
It was like an extension of growing up, I suppose, wasn't it? Like I'll get my student loan and stuff, and I just carry on not knowing what I'm going to be when I grow up. And my older brother was at university and stuff, so it was a little bit easier, and it was the easy ticket off of the island, off of Shetland. That's what everyone was doing. Like, you move away, where are we going to go? What's a big city and that? So I went to university, but I carried on working in restaurants. Like I got a job in a hotel. I went to Aberdeen University. I got a job in a hotel there. It was quite a nice hotel, where they did a lot. It was very busy. Like back then, there was like the big oil boom in Aberdeen. There was the hotels were like full. Like Monday to Friday, they were just full. So every day was like a Saturday for in a kitchen. Like, I didn't know. I didn't think anything different. I didn't realize that it could be difficult. Like, because it was just busy all the time. I just thought that's the way it is. Like,
you've already clocked up quite a few different kind of foods, but we've gone from sandwiches, we've gone to barbecue. But what's that first job in the kitchen in the hotel, and what kind of foods are they starting to put together? Yeah, I'd imagine there's a much different menu in Aberdeen in a big hotel. Than at Monty's. Yeah,
well, yeah, totally. They were doing everything, which was good, because the hotel, obviously, so they got your breakfast, your bar menu, your restaurant menu, room service and stuff, and then they did like functions. So they did like, big weddings. So you would do them kind of big parties. That was cool to learn that of like the a table of 100 and how it lines up. Everybody, plates out all hot, and then every man has got one job, and you go and it ticks along like
Right.
Conveyor belt style. So that was really eye opening learning that. But the restaurant food was quite good food actually. Like it was like the kind of a la carte was quite good food. So I learned a lot there. The biggest thing you learn at the beginning is multitasking, is doing everything at once. I remember the first time I was on a section, responsible for a section, there was the bar section. And at one point it suddenly just got mobbed and I had so many checks on, I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember the sous chef jumping in, and I don't even know, still to this day, it baffled me. Like I didn't know what he did. He just sort of threw a load of things on, looking around. He was just throwing all the checks away, and I was like getting panicked. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, don't worry, like as if that's them done. And I couldn't believe it. And I was looking back over them, and he was already walking away. He'd done it all, and I was like, wow. It was like, whoa, you can do it all at the same time. So you look through all the checks and say you've got, a burger there, a burger there, a burger there. Put 3 burgers on. Don't just go one check at a time,
All right.
And it just, wow, it was brilliant. So that I realized that, and I thought, well, this is what I'm learning here, is how to do it. Maybe not the best food, is the bar menu, is like burgers and nachos and pasta and stuff. But it was learning to do that, and it was learning to organize and control your section. So I did that for like a year, and then I wanted to move into like a kind of a small independent looking restaurant. So, and then I basically I left uni at that point. Like, yeah, the summer between years, I took on full time in the hotel, and that's when I got put onto the bar section, and I basically just, that was me. I never went back. I never went back to uni. Like,
oh, so you didn't even complete
I never completed it. No, that was it. Like, I think deep down that I knew that's what I always wanted to do. I think the only thing that slowed me was the sort of acceptance of everybody else when I said I wanted to do it.
Yeah. And
the expectation of going to university, like, was there. Like, my brother did it, everyone did it, all my friends were going to do it. Like a lot of things when you're young, you kind of just, you go with what you think everyone, kind of wants you to do or expects you to do.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad that sometimes, but yeah. Deep down, I knew I always wanted to chef, so I just kind of juggled them both, and then as chefing took over, like, that was it. I just stopped,
So you're building up the skill set. You're learning how to run a section.
Yeah,
get
totally.
more experience in the kitchen. You're moving into the small restaurant. What kind of food?
Yeah.
What kind of food did they do? Was it?
So it was like a kind of brasserie style casual food, but it was not like the same big structure as a hotel. So there was more to do. I got to do like the desserts. I got to do like learning how to cook a piece of meat and stuff like that. So it was just one menu that ran like maybe 5 days a week, and then the restaurant closed for 2 days. And it was a small place. It was maybe 30, 40 seats, a very small kitchen, a very small team. So it was ran completely differently, but that kind of everybody mucks in together feel, I learned that there, like that real team spirit with the chefs, because you'd be on a section, but you would help everyone in every section.
Yeah.
You finish your things, but whoever on desserts or on starters hasn't, you would, all right, what's on your list, and I'll help you.
Yeah.
And I seen that I could do more, because the guys that were older than me, were just like, they were probably seeing that they could get away with doing less, because then they could get me to do it. But I wanted to, because I got to learn it. So I'd be like, oh, I'll get this steak if it came on, even though I'm on starters. And then, the sous chef's like, okay, cool. If he can do it, then less work for him. So I started to try and do more and more. And so that was great for me. I did about a year in there, a year and a half. And I moved from there feeling like a proper accomplished chef now. Like,
right.
a good couple of years.
You've built up this CV, you've built up this skill set.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I've learned a lot of different things. And then, so then I kind of worked my way around the restaurants in Aberdeen, I then kind of had a clear vision of where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. I had a sort of 10-year plan then. Like, I want to work around, for the next maybe 5 years, I want to work around restaurants in Aberdeen that look to me like the nice restaurants, that look like I would learn something different, like go to the kind of French restaurant, the seafood restaurant, the steak restaurant, the high-end place, and learn all these different things and meet different people at the same time. And and then develop. And then the next plan at that point would be to try and go into like the Michelin star scene. That was the thing. I knew, or I feared if I went into that kind of environment too soon, it might intimidate me and put me off ever following through with it.
Right.
So, because I know like my character and I know that kind of shout and bullying culture, it doesn't work with me. It doesn't work with a lot of people. I felt that, I realised that the first job, the hotel in Aberdeen, the head chef was a little bit like that, but because I was so low down, I didn't really have to deal with him. The sous chefs or the kind of, the mid-level guys would be the ones that would be telling me what to do. So I would be directly dealing with them. But I just remember there was a couple of incidents, like we'd get a split in the afternoon there, 3 till 5, and he would go out, the head chef would go out and sleep in his car in the car park for a split every day. And you'd have to go and wake him up with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, like 10 minutes before service started again. And I remember just, like, I was young then, and that was the way it was. But I still just thought, this is odd. Like, knock, and then he was always like, he wasn't like grateful. He didn't say thanks for that. He would wake up like grumpy chef way straight away, and I'd be like, Jesus, this guy's a dick. What's the point? Why? And some mornings he'd come in and you'd be sprightly and excited about the day, and you'd be like, morning chef, and he would just walk past you. I'd be like, and it kind of stuck with me. I was like, why are people acting like that? I don't like that. And if he would shout at some people, there would be some guys that were maybe a bit hot-headed that he would really shout at, but they would respond well to it. And I just knew if he shouted like that at me, I wouldn't respond well. I would go into a sort of shell, or it would slow me down, or I would actually like lose respect and be like, no, I don't want to work for this guy. So like I feared that with like the Michelin star scene, because I really wanted to work in these places because it's like the top end chefs and I'd really learn. But I feared if I went in too young and I was seeing that, it would scare me, and then I would question everything about being a chef. So I worked around quite a bit for a good few years before I went into my first starred kitchen. I was already in like my kind of mid-20s and been chefing for a good 6 years or something before I started. Yeah,
you've had all this experience. So you've had the quick time experience of being in the hotel when they're turning things over. You've had all these other restaurants where, like you say, there's a little bit of Italian in there and seafood and what have you.
Yeah, totally.
Which are maybe two things that don't immediately go together, but you're learning how to put all these flavors and what have you together before making that big jump into the Michelin star scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is something that most people don't even get near to experiencing. How was it though when you finally made that jump? Like, there's been all these preconceived notions. You've almost developed a thick skin on your own way of working. Maybe that's a better putting it.
Yeah,
where
totally.
you know where you succeed best and where you can kind of like. Then, what's the first jump into the Michelin star scene for you?
Yeah, well, I went away. I went kind of traveling for like 6 months to South America. I went to Brazil and Argentina as sort of, chill. And then I knew when I was coming back, that was it. I was going to come back and go in. So there was quite a few restaurants in Edinburgh or in Scotland with stars then. And so I just wrote a big email out and sent it to all these different places about saying I wanted to get I wanted to come and work there or have a look and see what like and stuff. And then they all responded right away and was like, come in, do a day, and then we'll take it from there. And so basically the first one that I set up was at the kitchen, Tom Kitchen's. And he'd not long opened. He's quite young and he'd won a star really quickly. So he got his book came out and a friend of mine had it. And so like, I quite like, there's a bit in his book about his start you know, when he was learning and stuff, working in London for Pierre Kaufman and stuff. So I was quite, he was kind of the number one. I was quite intrigued mostly by there, and it was the first one. And I went in as soon as I came back, flew back into Edinburgh, like the next day. I kind of went in, and I worked the day there, and he just offered me a job at the end of the day. I was like, I remember he was like, okay, cool, you can start tomorrow. And I was like, I've actually I'm going to Andrew Fairley's tomorrow to spend the day. And he was like, so Tom Kitchen. He was like, well, you don't need to now, you've got a job. And I was like, yeah, but I've arranged a few things. He's like, we're going to have to cancel it then because I've just offered you the job. And I was a bit like, Jesus, he's arrogant. Like, but I was like, yeah, fair, okay, start tomorrow. That was it. I started the next day. So yeah, it was amazing. A lot of massive differences to the places I'd been, but also a lot of like that structure, that basis that I'd learned was there. Like, you know, working within a team, working hard, like multitasking, and you know, the kind of basics, running the section and stuff. It was just up a good few levels. But the biggest thing that was up a noticeable level was just the quality of the ingredients. Like, the things that were getting done, it wasn't like terribly different to any other to cooking. It is just cooking, but there's a higher care, precision over the ingredients. Like, yeah, like, and they're much higher quality, much more expensive. So wastage is a lot bigger. So there was a lot more pressure on that, which is a good thing. So that was a really big thing to learn for me, was like to take care not to waste anything, and to use everything, because to show the ingredient that respect. Like his background was French, a lot of French chefs he worked for, and that's, you know, that's their ethos, and that's great, that kind of respect for the ingredient. So that was it. The menu wasn't huge, and the covers, the amount of the numbers he did weren't huge, but there was loads of chefs. There was more chefs than in one kitchen than any other places I'd worked in.
Right.
But doing way less covers, and way less options on the menu. It's just that time was taken over each step.
Right.
But it was the whole, like, across the board, it was like that. It was like taking care of everything. Your knives, your appearance, your whites, your section, the whole kitchen, the stove, breaking the stove down at the end of the night and scrubbing it and stuff like that. That's the big difference to the other places, was that care and attention to detail. But yeah, there was a big kind of bullying culture,
right,
like, in that you know, dog eat dog thing. Like, people want to work there, and people with good experience want to work there. So there was always a pressure on you that like, no matter what you do, you know, you're only as good as your last service type thing. You know, no matter how hard you work and how well you're doing your job, you can be replaced really quickly.
Yeah.
There was that feeling in the beginning years when I got into Michelin-starred restaurants. There was an abundance of chefs and an abundance of great restaurants that were fully staffed, and people wanted to get into them. It's completely different now. It's all changing. But yes, that was a real big thing. But yeah, from there, the next kind of chapter of the what I wanted to do, the vision, was work for these certain Michelin-starred chefs that I had, like, kind of admired from a distance, like Tom Kitchen and Gordon Ramsay and Jason Atherton.
I mean,
those are three big names that I would like.
Huge names.
Yeah, totally.
Particularly Gordon, who's international. I would say.
Massive.
Was there any difference in the environments in those different kitchens, or was it the same? Understand the pressure, like, I mean, you've got to be at the top of your powers, you've got to be at the top of your game. Yeah. Was there a difference in those kitchens, do you think?
Yeah, very. There's massive difference in these high end places, like the kind of 1, 2, or 3 Michelin-starred restaurant.
Yeah.
But there's huge variation amongst them. Like Tom Kitchen's, was refurbished and he extended it and stuff. But at the time, the original it was a relatively small kitchen, and, you know, comparable small team to some other places. Like, I went to Claridge's, Gordon Ramsay at Claridge's, in London next. That was the next place I worked.
I mean, that's
And
one of the biggest on the planet at the
yeah,
time.
yeah, it was massive. It was massive. It was cool. I'd read his book, Gordon Ramsay's book, and he speaks a lot about when he got into Claridge's and how kind of proud he was because it's an institution. It's such a big place.
Is
And
that
it kind of stood out to
is
me.
that weird reading the book about someone and then meeting them?
Yeah,
and
totally.
working with them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was mental. The first time that Gordon Ramsay walked in, it was like, yeah, everybody was like, you don't know how to react because he's a star, but he's not only is he a star and a big TV personality, he really did it. He was just a chef that worked hard, worked his ass off in proper places. Like he really earned his stripes. So I had like huge respect. Like he was an amazing chef. Before he became as big as he is, like people might now have a different view of him because of how he's been the last 10 years. He's not just been behind a stove, but yeah, back in the day, he was really hard working, great chef, worked for great places. So yeah, he was like a kind of one of those like kind of heroes to me, like. And I read his book I was quite young when it first came out, so it had a big effect on me. So I was like, yeah, I would love to work in it. So when I got a job in Claridge's, yeah, it was amazing. And obviously it's a massive hotel, 5 stars, so it was pristine. Like there was no, I mean, there was the same care and attention on respect for the ingredients, but there wasn't the same financial like restrictions. Like we just had the best of the best.
Wow.
Like full of it. Like it was crazy.
So
like,
you're already talking about that jump up when you went into like
Yeah.
Tom's kitchen.
yeah,
But
yeah.
then this is an even bigger
Oh,
jump.
bigger step in a massive kitchen that was like exquisite. It was so well set up. It was unbelievable. It was huge room. Like the pastry section alone was the size of Tom Kitchen's kitchen that I'd been in. You had your own rationale just in pastry and stuff like that. It was amazing. The kitchen was massive. The pass was huge. He filmed one of the series of F Word in the Claridge's kitchen.
Yeah.
Because of the space and stuff. But yeah, it was that. So that was cool as well to be in it. I haven't watched it on TV. Yeah, that was different. Also because it's London, it's huge, it's a massive scene. There's huge amount of amazing chefs, like, and it's very multicultural. So that was a cool thing. I met loads of great chefs from different countries, all in one, and that was cool. That really opened my eyes. Like, you're all very different backgrounds, very different styles, very different ways you've been taught, learning, experience, but all there for the same reasons. Which that was amazing. So I made a lot of really good friends, really close friends in the Claridge's kitchen. One thing there that was different from any kitchen I've worked in to that standard was that sense of team. Like everybody helped each other. There wasn't that kind of try and make each other look bad so that the pressure's off you. Right. There was a lot of that in some places, not in Claridge's. Everybody really worked together, which was great. I really enjoyed that time at Claridge's. It was great. But yeah, Jason Atherton was working for Gordon Ramsay when I was first working there. He was the head chef of Maze. And there was this like thing I think they did yearly in the Gordon Ramsay group where one person from each restaurant in London got picked, and they all went somewhere. So it was like, it could be a barman, a manager, a chef, a kitchen porter, waiter, anything from one place. Someone picked them. The head chef and the GM maybe got together and picked someone. And then they all were going to one of the restaurants. So that time that I was in Claridge's, the restaurant was Maze, which was just down the road from Claridge's. It was literally on the same street. And I got picked. Like, the head chef picked me, which I was like, wow, I've only been here for a few months. Like, I was like, this is amazing. Like, but I went to Maze, and I'd read about Jason Atherton from a distance, like, because he had worked in El Bulli, which was like, yeah, like the most amazing like restaurant ever. He'd gone there and worked there, and I loved his journey because a lot of chefs say, you should stay somewhere for a good few years to learn everything, whereas Jason Atherton was like, I moved around to try and pick different bits from different chefs.
Right.
And I liked that. I thought, yeah, you've only got so many years and so many different chefs that you all work for. So I kind of admired Jason Atherton. I went to Maze, and he was the only chef in the Gordon Ramsay group that wasn't doing classic French food.
Right.
And so that was a big thing. I think that was a big show of respect from Gordon Ramsay to Jason Atherton that he allowed that. It was that kind of Asian influence, but with the same sort of like treatment and culture, use of the food, but with a lot of Asian influence. And the meal was amazing. Then it was not long after that, I was still at Claridge's, that it was announced that he was leaving the group and he was opening his own restaurant, his own first restaurant, Jason Atherton, Collins Street Social. And that was it. I knew that was the next place I wanted to work. I was going to work at Collins Street Social. So yeah, that's what happened. I went to Collins Street Social next and worked there. It was.
Do you think how you liked what Jason was doing in terms of taking all these different things and starting to put them together? Is that the kind of the first steps of you starting to think about what you wanted to do? 'Cause
Yeah.
Jason, obviously, he broke away from what Gordon was doing.
Yeah.
But is this a amount of time where you're starting thinking, there's only so many years, there's only so many
Yeah,
sunsets.
totally.
Now I need to start thinking about doing my own thing.
Yeah, I started to think by this point, like there was certain things. I used to write down in a little book. There was things that I'd learned. There was like recipes or dishes or garnishes or certain things from different chefs that I'd learned that I loved. And then I started to think, could I do that but with this thing? So I was kind of creating my own little dish in my head. And yeah, going to eat at Maze and then looking further into the Maze menu and the style of food and reading about it, what Jason Atherton was all about. It was a huge eye opener in terms of like food can still be that like incredible food, but I mean it sounds really naive that I just like sort of kind of that realization, but everything was just classic French then. That's it. That was what I thought that was what you do. You want to be a good chef, food was invented in France, the restaurant, that's what you have to do. Like, and then to go there and to see all these different things and then go, wow, this is cool. You can sort of develop your own style. Like you can use that same kind of work ethic and standard that you've learned from the classic French, but with different little tweaks. Yeah. So I started to really be interested in that. And then like I had always until that point, the plan was to work in London, hopefully for Gordon Ramsay. Then my next plan had always been to move to France because I always thought that was the place. You go and get a job in France.
Okay.
And then when I was at Claridge's, I always thought I'll try and get a job with the Gordon Ramsay group in France because he had restaurants in France. And then when I started working at Pollen Street, I kind of like France started kind of, for the first time ever, like going down in the pecking order a little bit. Or I started to think of, there's so many other places. And also I'd met these amazing chefs in Claridge's, Italian chefs and German chefs, really great German chefs. For the first time I started to like really look at German, like Michelin-starred German restaurants. And actually, incidentally, my brother moved to Germany around that time, so he was living there. So yeah, kind of my eyes started opening to doing different things. Like it doesn't have to be France. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be French fine dining. It can be a little bit more fun, but still amazing. Like I think that was a big thing about Pollen Street Social. He called it social, and he did this thing where he had a dessert bar. It was like a big bar in the restaurant where you would get your dessert. So he's like, the idea is people can come in, and you don't have to feel it's really exclusive. It's really formal. And you'd have to have a tasting menu. You can come in and just sit at the bar and have a dessert, have a drink.
Right.
And social to make it a little bit more kind of casual.
Right.
So I loved that. And I was like, wow, yeah. So it's still amazing, like, but it doesn't have to be that white tablecloth.
Yeah.
Gordon
Smart
Claridge's suit.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, yeah, that was amazing. That was probably in equal parts the best and the worst restaurant I ever worked at, Pollen Street. Because it was amazing, it was phenomenal, but it was very, very difficult, like very, very hard. Like,
so
really tough.
What wants you to make the jump for yourself? Because, like I say, you've worked in these restaurants, you've done all these other things, but you start thinking, where does Café XO kind of start coming about, even as an idea?
Yeah, well, for all this time, the idea was that I would hopefully one day open a restaurant. open a restaurant with someone, somehow earn money, come into money, find an investor, open a restaurant. That was always the plan. So it was like, I'll work in Michelin places, different places that I like, and learn and work my way up to being like a kind of a senior in a Michelin star restaurant, like a sous chef, and then try become a head chef. And originally the dream was like try and win a Michelin star. Michelin stars was the thing, but then it just became like try and find my own restaurant. But yeah, I mean, life things, events happen that change the course, you know, what you're doing, and, you know, change what's important to you. So these sort of things started happening and putting me off course a bit, and I'm still just cooking away. Yeah, I'm a head chef now. I've been started chefing in some decent places, but the kind of idea of opening my own business was a little bit put in the back burner, and it started to get. I started to kind of not know what way that was going to come and what form it would come under, because by this point I've got responsibilities, kids and stuff, and mortgage, and, you know, I'm in a good, solid, stable job as a head chef. To risk that, to try and take on debt and liability and stuff, it started to feel, and of course the environment, COVID and Brexit, and, you know, running costs and everything, less and less chefs. Like, I started to question if it was viable, if I was going to do it. And then it was a kind of a eureka moment where I started to think of different ways of still doing what I love doing. That was the beginning of the kind of birth of the Café XO thing, I suppose.
So, what is the those kind of steps that start leading towards, in terms of like what's the first what's the first Café XO thing?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
is it just experimenting with dishes on your own? Is it a pop up? Like, what's the first kind of steps to make that happen?
Yeah, the first step towards it was realizing that the things I love about being a chef were less and less apparent in my job, in my role as a chef.
Right.
So creating things, enjoying things, working with people that I like, that I respect, that I appreciate, teaching people things, enjoying it, just being creative and enjoying it. These things are getting killed because running costs for everything, for the whole business, and I get that from everyone. But it's so difficult because young chefs want to learn good food. They're not interested in that. So you're the head chef, you're torn between both. You know, you know that if I'm not teaching this guy, I'm not supporting him, I'm not listening to him, if he's not being heard, he's not getting his chance, why is he going to want to stay here?
Right.
So then it's going to make everything worse for us because we're going to constantly be understaffed and looking for people. Then you're constantly training someone up to a point of them leaving. And like, how do you get this sort of structure that people are going to want to stay? That they're learning, they're progressing. When the boss is saying, no, you can't buy them ingredients, it's too expensive. You can't do those dishes, it's too much. And so that realization, I started to think, is there other ways I can do this? You become very emotionally attached when you're a head chef. Like you're not the owner, but you kind of run it like you are the owner. You know, you feel everything, you understand it, and you know, if it's a quiet week, you know that the boss wants you're on salary, so you should be the one that's doing the bulk of the hours, not paying someone else to be there on an hourly rate. So I started to think, what's the other way? And I thought, I'll just do like temping so that I'm not so emotionally attached to the place and I have a bit of a freedom to think for myself about what I can do to get into
That's important. Yeah.
So for a year, I basically went self-employed, and that changed everything. It did exactly what I was hoping. I started to love what I was doing again, being able to switch off at the end of it and think, right, what's the next thing? And that's when I started to think, I'll create a brand, I'll create a style. I mean, I had a style now. I've been a head chef at this point for 12 years or something. I very much had a style. I was confident in the food I was doing, and I enjoyed it. And it was very much Café XO food, but it was relevant to wherever I was working. But it was very much there. That part, the food part, was fine. It was what's next. And I thought, if I know what it is, but the world needs to know. Like, I need to try and So that's like create a name, and obviously everything is social media now. So it's like create an Instagram page and a brand, and then start putting photos of what the food is you're doing and sort of explaining. So you're almost like you're selling it to other people. And then I did my first pop-up, essentially. I thought I could do pop-ups and I could do like kind of supper clubs. I could try and do like, be like a kind of a private chef.
Right.
That was another thing I thought, because I thought that's a way of networking, of meeting people, and showing them like the food, but not only just showing them the food, it's letting them get to know you as a person and what you're all about, because I think that's a huge part of it. So that was it. I started doing pop-ups, and it's kind of started taking off, and then it was like a balancing act between the job and the side hustle, and then doing more of this and less of this. And then obviously at the back of your head, knowing that fear of I've got to take the leap at some point where I've got to go all in. I've got to commit. I've got to get myself into a bit of debt and a bit of like that fear. I've got to, otherwise, if I don't, it'll never happen. So yeah, that was it. I think it just started building, and it's just doing it. Like that's what I got this tattoo start, because it kind of came to me when I was going to visit this place in Edinburgh. It was one of the first places that I approached. I think it was the first place I approached to do a pop-up. It was one of the first I did it. But I just sent a message, kind of like the email I sent out from Brazil to the Michelin-starred restaurants saying, this is where I am and this is what I want. I kind of did that and sent that to a lot of different places that I thought looked like my kind of people, my kind of places, like creative places. They were doing something different, like maybe a coffee shop that were like, they were roasting their own beans though. Like, so I thought, well, they're into this. They're doing it. They're not just selling coffee for the sake of selling coffee.
Yeah.
They're selling coffee because they love coffee. And I say coffee because I thought coffee shop's a great one because they close early. So I'm like, what are they doing in the evening then? What are they doing with their unit? I could go in. And so that was the start of it. And I was driving to this place and I was thinking of all these thoughts, and I was like, things are sort of falling into place. Like, why? What's happened? And I was like, it's just doing it. I've always known. It's just start. It's just start. And I wrote it down on this like card, start, and it kind of stuck with me. I wrote down XO, and start. I don't even know if I had the name Café XO at that point. I just loved XO. I love XO sauce.
Yeah.
And the symbol, I think it looks great as a brand. And yeah, that was it. It's just starting, just doing it. If you don't do it, it's never going to happen. And it's just growing, thankfully.
And you doing all these different places, more different type of people are experiencing it and they're enjoying it because you're giving them this amazing kind of fusion menu that they won't have had anywhere else.
Totally.
And one of the things you said earlier on that really stuck with me is you wanted to make sure people were having this experience, but it being value for money.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Value for money is a big thing, because it's so daunting now to take a risk on something different, like, and then when there's a big price tag on it and then being disappointed, like, everyone's feeling the money struggles. So the idea of like going out, like I've got 2 young kids, my kids like going out, they love it, they like that experience. Some places are so expensive. Like my daughter's favorite place is a place in Paisley. I live in Paisley. It's like one of those kind of Chinese buffet places.
All right, yeah.
It's great. Like the kids love it because it's got everything you could want.
It's got a chocolate fountain.
It's got a chocolate fountain.
Chocolate fountain.
Exactly. It's got every dessert and everything, but it's so expensive. So I don't eat an awful lot there because, like, you eat a couple of things and then you're like, oh, I'm floored, So I don't eat an awful lot. The kids don't even eat an awful lot. It's more the running around and the chocolate. But then there's a huge price tag at the end of it, and it's like, oh, like it's tough, man. People want to go out, like they don't want to disappoint the kids and stuff. They want these things, but like big price tag. Like I took Oscar, like my son's favorite thing to do is go to a fish and chips place. There's a place in Paisley. It's a really cool old school. It's like your old 70s cafe. But he had his school disco, which is in Glasgow. So it's like, well, I'm not going to drive all the way back there because then we have to go to get his sister. So we'll go to one in Glasgow. So we went to one that was quite a kind of nicer sit-in fish and chips. But yeah, I got a fish and chips. He got a kid's fish and chips, and we got 2 iron brews. I think we got a macaroni or something, a little side or some mushy peas or something. It was 50 quid. It's like 50 quid for fish and chips is like, wow. So yeah, a big thing is like, it's the food. It doesn't need to be like that. Like, how can you make something decent, but it's kind of modestly priced as possible? It's doable when you learn these skills as a chef in all these places. You can do it. You can make food great, but you just make everything. You don't buy in certain parts or sauces, or you make it all, and then it's cheaper. You cut those costs, and obviously working in sort of Michelin-starred places for so long, you learn all that. You learn like the Tom Kitchen thing of using everything. Use everything. You literally would be like, use everything. Why throwing out that leaf from a cauliflower? Like, I don't know. You're in trouble. It's like, well, you put that in a salad for staff dinner. It's like, oh yeah, we could roast that. It's beautiful. Have you ever tried a roast cauliflower leaf? I'm like, what is this guy talking about? But it's amazing. Like, yeah, there's all these things you can do. You tempura, it's beautiful. Cover it in a nice sauce. So that's a big thing going into doing my own thing. Is like to make it approachable for people, not too formal, so everyone feels like welcome. It's not daunting. They understand the food, and there's not a scary price tag with it.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, when they come and try it, they're kind of like, it exceeds expectation ideally, because they're like, that price tag and that thing, which is maybe, I don't know, fried chicken or something, or a burger or whatever. People know a burger and fried chicken, and it's £10, £12, whatever. Okay, we'll give it a try. But then they go and go, that was amazing.
Yeah.
That's
it's bringing all these unique flavors and what have you. Just completely.
Totally.
And are we going to be seeing that when you come down to the Clydeside?
Yeah, exactly.
100%?
That's exactly what it's all about. That's what we do. Yeah. Totally.
Can you give away any plans that you've got for what you're going to be doing down in the Clydeside?
Yeah, totally. I think that always is a huge thing for me is to be relevant to where you're cooking, for who your audience are, and for where you are.
Yeah.
So we're not going to be doing a tasting menu there. So, it's outside. There's a lot of businesses nearby. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of foot traffic. So something that's, and also I think a big thing is people don't want to feel like, that it's always like a kind of a cheat day when they eat something, they buy something out.
Yeah.
Like, if you feel like you're getting something that's actually pretty wholesome, and relatively healthy and good for you, that's a big thing. So that'll be important there. But food that's quick, on the go, and simple. But we'll have different things for different people, because there's going to be people that are hanging out, having a drink, but there's also going to be people that are jumping in and grab something and going back to the office.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, yeah,
a little bit of everything.
A little bit of that. Yeah.
I love that. Well, look, we can't wait. It's going to be amazing. Don't forget to check us out. We are going to be with Café XO, which is going to be at the Clydeside Containers very, very soon. Andrew, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
We'll see you next time on the podcast.